Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with everybody except Ashley. It's how you guys get introduced when Ashley's not here.
We should
all right, so
everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not always.
Trampus is here. All right.
We're just
Trampus is here, Joe's here, Kyle's here. But the most important part of what's going on today, if you're not checking us out on YouTube, you should, because it's the Christmas episode and we need a vote. This is our annual Christmas showcase, and we need to know who won, who is the most Christmassy. So if for anyone listening, I'll do a quick description. Trampus, pretty nice. He's got a string of lights on a shelf behind him. Oh, and a Christmas mug. Bonus
looks like
points
he just
there.
Christmas mug that you can't see until he takes a drink out of it.
Yeah,
I
think Trampus just was about to hook up lights and just said, oh, "I'm gonna plug these in." Oh, I just dropped them on my shelf real quick. I forgot about them.
Hey, let's not try and influence the listeners slash viewers
as well.
Nope, okay. There's no roasting. We're just
barbell ratings.
What kind of
telling everybody
what kind of
what's
Christmas
available.
spirit do you got, Joe? That's all.
I have all the Christmas spirit. I've had it for about 6 weeks now.
All right, moving from Trampus, lights strung across a shelf and a Christmas mug. Pretty good. Jumping to Kyle. Looks like he has a Christmas mug, a small white Christmas tree on his desk, an elf on a shelf on a book. Then on his squat rack, he has it decked out in Christmas lights and a second Christmas tree with lights on it as well. What's the shirt? What's the shirt you're repping? It is a red Santa shirt. So he really went all out. So that's what Kyle's got. Joe, looks like you're wearing some sort of Christmas sweater t-shirt. Now I have a machine gun.
Shirt.
Ho, ho, ho. That's a great shirt.
Great.
So solid shirt there. He has a lit up Christmas tree napkin.
Sweater.
Sweater.
I like
napkins.
No, it's a napkin. It's a napkin.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a giant one. No, so a sweater lit up, which is really cool. And is there anything else back there? It looks like a red,
it is
white.
The I love Christmas sweater that the Grinch wore. There's also jingle bells on it, but that might be distracting on audio.
Okay, and so then for me, I'm actually wearing a Christmas wreath around my neck. I'm wrapped with lights. I have a Christmas tree in the background. 4 Christmas trees lit up across the entire back space, and Santa Claus is actually here. People are bringing their kids for Santa Claus over in the corner. So anyone, all the people who are on audio only, go ahead and vote who won. And then YouTube, you'll know the real truth about who won.
Yeah, if you're audio only, you can actually hear Jerred's nose growing as he.
All right. Okay. I have a small Christmas tree that is very well decorated. So I may lack in props, but I have a really awesome tree. So
the thing that he did really, really well.
Yeah. So this might be an excuse for listeners to check out YouTube. Maybe. All right. Well,
we're not saying it's not.
We're gonna get into some science now. So Merry holidays to everybody. Effect of concurrent power training and high intensity interval cycling on muscle morphology and performance. Is it just me, or is morphology making a comeback?
It's a fun word.
Knows everything.
Well, it wasn't a thing, but I'm seeing that word
Is it
specifically in
morphin'
a lot
time?
more studies. Yeah, that's what
It's
I was
morphin' time.
thinking.
That's exactly
That's
right.
exactly what I was thinking.
That's it.
All right.
T-shirt
So the
making.
purpose of this study was to compare changes in quadricep muscle fiber size, squat 1 rep max, and vertical jump performance between a group of women who performed power-oriented lifting only and a group of women who performed power-oriented lifting followed by interval cycling for 6 weeks. So they had 20 women who had not performed systematic exercise training with the preceding 12 months. One woman dropped out, so it ended up being 19 in the study. And they really just want to see what happens to power-based outcomes when you're doing concurrent training. We could get into like really the deep dive of what they did, but it looked like Monday, Wednesday, Friday were all lifting, or Monday and Friday were, and they did Smith machine squats. I'm not going to get into the super big details of it. And then immediately after each set, subjects also performed 3 vertical jumps with a maximum of 1 minute between jumps. On Wednesdays, subjects did vertical jumps followed by drop jumps, and they rested, blah, blah, blah. And then for the cycling, for the group that did cycling plus all of the jumping and Smith machine squats, they performed a protocol of 10 times 1 minute intervals at maximum aerobic power, with the workload being increased 5% each week. There was a 1 minute of passive rest between each interval. So did you guys read that as a 10 by 1-to-1?
Yep.
So the 10 total, not a 5 1-to-1. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking as well. All right. And so ultimately they did see the actual takeaway from the study. These results suggest that the addition of high-intensity interval cycling to power training inhibits the anticipated increase in jumping performance induced by power training. This inhibition is not explained by changes in muscle fiber type composition or anything else, let's just say. So this one, more a negative for concurrent training when it comes to power-based outcomes, but maybe you'll feel differently as we peel this onion a little bit more, because I do have a lot more to say about that in my personal opinion of it. So ultimately, not a big effect on strength, kind of the same with my muscle hypertrophy or muscle growth. But the people who did both cycling and strength, their power outcomes were not very good. So that's the jumping straight to it. What do you guys think about this one?
There was a lot of weird stuff with this study. And I know we're typically not a fan of the trained versus untrained people. Sometimes having untrained people works, especially if it's, certain strength, muscle growth and whatnot. But power, really don't like the untrained for power, because we would never give an untrained athlete a ton of power work to do, because you need to be able to, learn how to activate those muscles and use those properly before you're trying to be explosive. And so that was a big negative part to me. But the fact that, strength happened the same across both, or even a little bit better on the concurrent training, was pretty interesting. Another part, the conditioning, the aerobic, they call it like the aerobic interference, but they're going max effort for these 1 minute intervals, and their test was 25 25 watts for 3 minutes, and then the next 3 minutes they would up it another 25, and they would just keep that cycle upping it until they just couldn't anymore. So we're talking max effort, max fatigue. This would be like completely anaerobic. I don't know who would be training, staying in their aerobic zones during this. So that was also kind of a red flag to me, is that they were just like torturing these people to do that. And it happened 10 minutes after they finished the strength. So just like, here, you're not really recovered. Just go hard on this bike for a while, and then let's see what happens. Now maybe this could have been helped with like, so yeah, it's not going to help with power. Maybe with muscle endurance, who knows? It could have been different, but I didn't like their aerobic training protocols for it. It seems like they were stacking the decks against them, but it still is noteworthy, and it's kind of cool, because we do all of these things in our program. We do strength, we do hypertrophy, and we do sometimes have pain or gain intervals. So it's nice to know that, okay, if we're going to be doing this training, maybe not have pain intervals right after we do a bunch of strength. If our minor or major for that cycle is power, if we still just want to work on power, then it's still fine. But if we really wanted to like make that a focus, then I think it is interesting to know that I do like that they focused on power for this. Usually it's just in these concurrent training, most of the ones that we go over for concurrent training is, did they get stronger? Which one got more stronger? And that's it. They just care about if people are still getting stronger when they're doing conditioning. And time again, it's proven even here, yes, you're still getting stronger. Okay, now let's focus just on power. So that was really interesting for this one. And I really did like it for that. Last weird thing that I'm just going to say are the eccentric only Smith machine squats. Like what?
Mm-hmm.
And the squat parameters were where was it at? Knee bending was allowed to go to 90 degrees. So I think that's like they were stopping people at a 90-degree knee bend. These squat numbers that these women had were off the charts, like pretty high, especially for untrained. That was, I don't know how they were calculating or doing the weight on that, but
it's a Smith machine, right? So
yeah.
There's some weight taken off of it. So
I had some major issues.
I probably
with that.
squat 600 pounds on a Smith machine.
Yeah. But the eccentric only was a weird training pro, but I know Kyle's going to get into that. So I'm just going to have that be my segue to Kyle.
This, I didn't really know what to do with this study. Because Jerred, you're right. It does seem like a negative. At first glance, it seems like a negative point against concurrent training. But then I started diving into it and looking at the training protocol. And, this is something that we talk about a lot on the podcast about how these scientific studies don't seem to employ strength coaches when planning out their training interventions and things like that. And this one seemed like that was definitely missing, mixing max effort conditioning with dynamic effort, strength work, and things like that. I just didn't really understand that. But what we're talking about here, and I wasn't there for the study, so I don't really know. I can't really obviously criticize it too much. I just can look at what they wrote down. But what they wrote down was the average weight, the average body mass for these women was 59 kilos, which is about 130 pounds. And their pre-study squat was 133 kilos, which is 293 pounds. So you've got a 130-pound woman squatting 293 pounds after not having done any kind of resistance training for the previous 12 months. And so I just look at that and I'm just like, and you're right, it is a squat machine and it is, just parallel, and it is eccentric only. So they're not having to stand it back up, things like that. But it just, to me, that's just a big red flag of like generalizing these results across all programming and all interventions and all that kind of stuff. So that was a big red flag for me. So I just didn't really know. And also the intervention was only 6 weeks. And we talked about this last week about how like you need a minimum of 12 weeks, and 16 weeks is actually probably even better for actually finding really good, solid changes when it comes to starting a new lifting program and things like that. So a 6-week intervention just didn't really seem to be long enough for me to like have a good enough impact. But anyway, all of that to say, their strength and their hypertrophy still went up with both interventions. So concurrent training still increased strength and it still increased hypertrophy right along with the resistance training only. It just depends on your goals. So what they were measuring was power. They were measuring jump height and things like that. And so because that's what they were measuring, their training protocol didn't increase it. And I feel like any of us on this podcast could have looked at that training program and said, yeah, I don't think it's going to, just because of what you've put in there. So I don't know. I don't think this was a good test to test what it was that they were trying to prove or something like that. I just think their training protocol wasn't really set up to help find success at what they were trying to do. Trampus.
Right. I mean, these guys hit basically every note that I had. I think overall, like, how do you define concurrent training? Is it really just lifting and then running at the same time? I mean, I feel like concurrent training, or at least the way that we do it, is it's such a more detailed approach to how you lay this out. And they literally just had these women squat and then just killed them, like with a max effort sprint, 60-60 sprint, which is, for untrained people, that's no joke. Like for anybody, that's no joke. But like, imagine not training and then coming in and lifting double your body weight, whether it's eccentric only or whatever, and then running as hard as you can 10 times. I'm surprised they didn't injure somebody, really. I mean, because it's just it's so much volume thrown at you in no little time, and in 3 days a week. And I don't remember the last time you or anyone's programmed heavy squats and then follow that up with, really intense cardio, as they call it, which I feel like cardio also, what does that even mean? Like, are you running 20 minutes of zone 2 after a training session and then having a higher intensity day only by itself? I mean, to me, it's just bad programming is what they proved may blunt effects, not concurrent training. You can't really just put concurrent training label on this because they ran and squatted at the same time. But how you feel, Jerred? I'm sure it's good.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I didn't hate it as much as you all did, which is interesting. I do think that it was poor programming, though. I wouldn't have programmed like this, and I think there's still a lot of takeaway. Like, I mean, sometimes if you were to present the study, like Kyle said, you bring in a strength coach. So say you just gave me the parameters, like, this is what we're planning to do, and be like, that's dumb. Like, why would you ever do that? And so I do think that there should just be that check before they get started. And I guarantee there's someone on their staff who has a major in kinesiology or, passed the CSCS test, which they require for a lot of these things, but that's about it. So they think that they have someone on staff. So when I say a coach, I don't really care about someone's certifications or education. I'm talking about somebody who's been doing this for, let's say, at least a decade, maybe 2, has a lot of experience, a lot of athletes who can just tell you, here's what's going to happen if you do that. And I can tell you the results before it starts, because there's no reason to program like that. But I am pretty surprised at not just it was like a marginal increase in power. It was completely blunted. It was awful. So poor programming or not, I'm still really surprised at how that worked, because generally when you do look at concurrent training studies, that's always the takeaway. Always the takeaway. If you're going to run and squat in the same program or whatever you want to, let's say 2 modalities, the squat's not going to be as high as the people who only squatted, and the run's not going to be as high as the people who would only run. It's going to be like a marginal increase in both, right? So you're still getting better at both, but it's not as bad, or it's not as good as if you were to do those modalities individually. That's generally always the training on concurrent training. That's why most coaches don't like concurrent training, because most professional coaches are coaching people in a specific sport where one thing needs to get better. And so they look at concurrent training and they're like, to hell with this. It's going to make my athlete worse in something else. And that's true. But if you're a garage gym athlete and you just kind of want to be good at everything, that's where concurrent training normally wins. But in this case, the power was just crap. And I'm really surprised at that. And so we can talk about the programming, but I'm still a little bit surprised by those findings. And Joe's right as well. You can't really do power training with people who are insufficiently trained. You're just not a trained athlete. You can't really get into glycolytic work. You can't get into power-based training. And we covered that in the last podcast when they were talking about training through the strength continuum. Power's at the end of that. You would start with muscular endurance, strength endurance, things like that. You wouldn't jump to power endurance with someone who's untrained. So it is weird on a programming standpoint. But the one thing I pulled out that I thought was really interesting, I said the concurrent group had a 17.64% greater increase in squat 1 rep max over the resistance only group. Okay. But then there was this analysis with the covariance crap that then brought it down to where they're like insignificant, doesn't matter. And okay, from a scientific standpoint, I'm fine with what they did. Like, okay, and what the difference was, the squat maxes were so different in resistance trained and the people doing the concurrent training that they didn't think it was fair to only report percentages. So they ran their ANCOVA, and then they came out with this is non-significant. But in street coaching, as we like to call it, that's not what I would do. If I had Trampus starting at a 300-pound back squat and Joe starting at a 400-pound back squat, and you both got 17.64% greater, or one of you got 17.64% greater and the other didn't, I'm not actually going to care about some sort of like analysis of covariance, because I'm just going to be like, what was your percentage or poundage increase after my program? That's all I actually care about. I don't care about the percent change or anything like that, because all you're looking for is an increase in your own performance, right? You don't care that like, oh, well, somebody who was stronger would actually be this percentage, but it's kind of the same as you, because who cares about any of that, right? When we're talking about street coaching, it's just like this would have been, anyone would have been like blown away if you increase your squat 1 rep max by almost 20% in a 6-week program. That's crazy. That's crazy for anybody to do. And I found that it just crazy, even crazier that happened to the group that was doing concurrent training, not the group that was doing resistance training. So that was a big takeaway too. I think if you're just looking at a garage gym athlete, that would be huge. You wouldn't care about percentage of all this other crap that they had to do. So I'm glad that they did it in the study. That makes sense for science sake, but it doesn't make sense for the garage gym athlete listening to this. So a lot of good takeaways overall. And so my takeaway, killing comfort for something like this, is just make sure that if you're going to do concurrent training, there are, probably 10 or 15 general guidelines that you should be thinking about. I'm not actually going to go over them, so sorry for listing a number like that. But we are thinking about all of those things for you. And the only time I would program something like this, where we're going to do some heavy squats and something right after like this, is our really hard aerobic training or glycolytic, is I look at that as mental toughness training. It'd be more like a Meet Yourself Saturday, something like that. Because, and I've said this before, life is not that cookie cutter. If you only get good at being strong on one day and conditioned on another day, but anytime those have to blend together, you get to a Spartan race and you're like, why do I suck? It's like, oh, it's because we're doing a bunch of different modalities all at once, and you need to be able to go glycolytic and then do pull-ups. Like, you have to like be able to do these things. And so there is some real world element to programming like that, but it should not be your norm, because it's not going to get you better in the long term. And so going back to killing comfort, just follow good programming, follow Garage Gym Athlete if you're not already. And then if you are programming this stuff for yourself and listening to this podcast, be smarter, be better, try harder, and know all the rules of concurrent training before you put pen to paper on your own program.
Yeah, sure.
Be intentional with your power training.
Yeah, for sure.
Be strong first. We covered that on the podcast last week. We talked about strength is the foundation for everything. It's exactly what Joe said about like you don't go straight to power. You have to be strong first. You have to actually know how to move. You have to know how to recruit, the muscle groups that you need to be powerful and those types of things. So like, and I think that's part of our issue with CrossFit as well is, the first thing you do in CrossFit, you go in and start doing Olympic lifting. And I'm like, okay, like Olympic is power based. You need to be strong first. Like you need to learn how to pick the weight up properly. You need to learn how to squat it properly. You need to learn how to move all that stuff properly before you start slinging weight overhead, and so that's the thing. Like take the right steps in the right order and be strong first.
I also wondered with this study if they had like a deload of any sort before they tested again.
I was thinking that the concurrent training people might have been burnt out after 6 weeks of that training.
Right. That's
completely dead.
6 weeks of 3 days a week of just getting smacked in the face, and then 2 more days on top of that. Like, was there any break for them to fully recover before they tested?
Yeah, I don't think I saw that.
I didn't see anything mentioned, but But the other group, yeah, they had less volume over the last 6 weeks. Why wouldn't they have done better with an immediate test right after? So maybe that's the killing comfort is before you test, get recovered.
Deload properly. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and if someone asked me like in reverse, for some reason they were like, "Hey, I'm about to go do some jumping. Like, how could I make sure I'm really bad at that?" I'd be like, "Oh, well, do a bunch of like hardcore like airdyne intervals right before."
Yeah.
That's what. But that'd be like my answer to you, or like push a
Yeah.
sled. Be like, how can I be really
Yeah.
bad at jumping in the next 15 minutes? Like, just go do really hard glycolytic intervals. They call them aerobic, but people are probably getting glycolytic. That's just the programming was silly. So
Anybody who's ever done like a superset with box jump plus something with a lower body thing is even that.
Yeah.
Like, that first jump is a little short.
and there are benefits to doing that, like a
Yes.
heavy lift and then something plyometric right after.
Mhm.
But to this degree, you lose all of that after probably the first interval. It's like
Yeah.
gone.
Well, especially if you have a 130-pound person, back squatting almost 300 pounds, and then they have to jump really high, and then they have to go ride a bike as fast as they possibly can, for 10 plus minutes. It's like, they're not going to perform very well. Like that's that's how you absolutely hurt somebody and make people hate training. Like, to me, that's you want to keep somebody from coming to your gym, make them do this, and then they'll never show up again.
I bet you the concurrent training ladies in here definitely continued the training afterwards. I'm sure they did.
Yeah. No chance.
Sad.
Anything else on the study?
No, they were good for the topic.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's get into the topic. I teased it last week because I didn't feel like we were going to have enough time. And so we're getting into it. It's kind of, we were talking about fitness wearables and technology kind of last week, things to be looking out for with wearables, metrics you want to track, our favorites, our likes and dislikes. Now we're jumping into more tech, which is supposed to be the future of fitness. And from everything I've been reading and checking and researching, and it's really the writing on the wall is if you're in the fitness industry and you're not headed this direction, your company will die. And so that's kind of what I wanted to cover. At Garage Gym Athlete, we are very much going against the grain in about every way that you possibly could in the fitness industry. We're not making things easy for anybody. The training isn't like ridiculously hard. It's not like this high intensity stuff every day like some other people do, but it's definitely challenging training. It involves a barbell. It involves equipment. We tell you it's not going to happen quickly. Results will come slowly. We're not posting half naked pictures and before and after shots of anything like that. We're all performance based. So, I mean, we're just going against the grain in every capacity and in every way that you can in the fitness industry. And it's not because we just want to go against the grain for going against the grain's sake. Personally, my pursuit has been to do things the right way. Like that's actually like I'm on a quest for finding the best programming and creating the best programming for a human being. Like that's what I look at. That's why it's easy for me to make changes when I read enough science and get enough experience in something. I don't hold on to an idea too strongly because I really want the best for our athletes, not just my ideas or my opinions. But then we have, we step into things like Peloton, and another one was Mirror, which is a big one. I think Lululemon bought them. And so if you're not familiar, these things are sweeping the nation, so to speak, of home gym. They're kind of taking over the home gym area. So if you're not familiar, Peloton is this stationary bike, which has been around for years, but they added a screen with a subscription service to be able to do cycling classes at home. Okay. I mean, that's the Peloton. I don't think I need to church it up any more than what it is. And then the Mirror is this rectangle you put on your wall that's a mirror that has like a holographic coach in it, and you have your weights and then you do what they do. It's a monkey see, monkey do. It's like a really futuristic version of Richard Simmons. And so that's what mirror does. I'm sure there are a lot of other ones, right? And I think we're just scratching the surface with, I'm sure Tesla will have their own version of this at some point that runs on batteries. And, we'll get into all these different things. But what do you guys think? I mean, are we on the forefront? Because Garage Gym Athlete started really before this technology was really even here. I mean, so are we at the beginning of the end as a company? Because we're doing things the right way, but that's not what the market wants to see. The market wants to see what's faster, what's easier, what's more convenient. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Or is this the beginning of the end for Garage Gym Athlete? What do you think, Joe?
So first thing I want to even though I wasn't a huge fan of the book, but just one of the takeaways I had with Road Less Stupid was that this could still be a tactical solution for someone and not actually helping them. So like you can get these new pieces of technology just like getting a new pair of shoes or a new piece of anything, that you'll be excited for it, but eventually unless you have the right motivation, the right everything to back it up, then it's just going to be another clothes hanger. So I think the mirror is just going to become a mirror, at least that actually has a purpose, than just something to hang up clothes on. So that's the first thing. But then I will also say that something like Peloton is, they're each kind of have their pros and cons. I think Peloton, it will stay around for a while and will be great because half the time people that get gym memberships just use the cardio equipment anyways, and at least this one they can do the classes. They keep growing as well, and that's one thing is benefiting them. But also there's a ton of hotels now that actually keep Pelotons on hand, and you can request a Peloton in your room if you're staying at one of those hotels, and then you just log into your account and like you're good to go. But there's a lot of these other ones. I just don't think it's going to replace everything that people want. So like if you work out at home, then you probably care more about the programming. You really care about you probably have more of a drive for fitness, and you don't necessarily need to have these classes. And if you're somebody that needs classes, you probably also need to be around people. So they're still going to do these at home workouts, but then it's going to be like, well, I actually miss people. I might see them on TV, but people could have been doing this for the entire time. I bought like a cheaper, spin bike. That's what we have. And I can pull up a class on YouTube or whatever I want. That there's fitness apps for those. There's been that for a while. This equipment's just putting all that together basically for you. It's taking that out of their hands. And then just, upcharging it a good bit. So I think it's a mix. Something like Peloton, I think will be around for a while and it will be in the mix, but I don't think it will be the sole thing that people use. And I think the people who would do something like our programming, they're still going to be around because you care about fitness and you care about like more of the not just burning calories or getting your workout in. And if you are the person that likes to do those classes, you probably just want to go, and it's partially being social too. And you can't really be social on a screen that much, even though I know Peloton has rankings and you can like compete against people there, but like how much of a motivator is that? Is it what sort of motivation is it going to do when you see these rankings and like there's going to be people? I mean, we've had this issue even with our leaderboards and Team Builder while we stopped using it. Like the leaderboards and people on those are just going to be either fabricated or completely jacked up. And they're like, what's that going to do to your motivation? Do you need that leaderboard to motivate you? Do you need that digital partner to motivate you? I mean, whatever motivates you is great, but I still think it's a completely different kind of person that does our sort of training. But Trampus.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think first of all, you need to do whatever you're going to stick with. So if that is getting one of these mirrors and that actually keeps you accountable in some way, or you like the community that comes with it, or you're able to stick with it, if you're that person, then that's probably for you. But in my mind, there's three people. There's people that want to be generally healthy and exercise. There's people like us where we're amateurs, but we're chasing specific goals here and there. And then there's professional athletes. And if you're in either one of the latter of those categories, something like this isn't going to help you. Like, it's going to keep you active. It's going to help you maybe get better in some areas, but it's going to be really hard to push to a new level of fitness in my mind. And it just depends on which one of those you are. And then the other thing to think about is, one of these mirrors is like $1,000, and I think it comes with a 1-year warranty. If the power, if lightning strikes your mirror, what do you do after that? Are you going to go buy another one? I mean, and they're only gonna fix something that was on their end in that 1 year, where you can buy $1,000 of barbells and plates and a squat rack, and you can have that for 20 years. If maybe you need to get a new barbell after 20 if you're really using it, but maybe not. Like, probably not if you're the only one using it. Some barbells have lasted 20 years in a Gold's Gym, which seems incredible, but they're there. Like, so I kind of akin it to like vehicles. Are we going to see a 2017 F-150 in a classic car show one day? No. We're going to see, a 1970s F-150 or F-100 that someone's, kept pristine, and that thing still runs. This technology is not built to last, in my opinion, and it's going to constantly need to be upgraded. You may have to buy a new mirror every 4 or 5 years, where a barbell and plates, and you might replace your running shoes, something like that. Even Concept 2s last forever. I mean, so I just think, I don't want to say it's a fad, because technology is getting better and better, but at the same time, I think this equipment is going to limit you at some point in the future, whether it's with its reliability or it's your goals, if you're trying to chase goals like that. But
to be honest, if Concept 2 is smart, the PM6 or whatever is next will have something like this built into it.
Yeah,
because they already have an amazing piece of equipment. If they added something like this, I'm sure they'd have even further adoption of their current equipment.
Well, my wife showed me some rowing company that's doing something
like
similar to Peloton. Yeah. And I was like, if it's not Concept 2, I don't want it. That's my immediate was my immediate response.
It's also a water rower.
But it's a similar thing. Yeah. So I don't know. I just, maybe I'm a late adopter anyways to things. So jumping into new $1,000 pieces of equipment that could literally just go out at any time, that seems frivolous. Kyle?
Yeah, I think what we're doing here is trying to predict human behavior and human mindset. And we talk a lot about mindset here anyway, and Joe and Trampus kind of already hit it, but the people who buy a mirror are different from the people who subscribe to Garage Gym Athlete. You know what I mean? It's just a different type of person, and it's just a different mindset in general. And I think there's always going to be a market for both. I think there's always going to be a market for people who want the easier, flashier, way to work out, and try to use that flashier equipment to motivate them to actually do something. And then I think there's always going to be people out there like us who know what it takes to get actual results, and to stick with it, and to do the hard things, to actually stay with it for a long period of time. And so I don't think we have anything to worry about from places like this. I like seeing technology advance. I think it's a cool thing. And for certain people, I think you need to do exactly what Trampus said. Like, you need to do whatever you're going to stick to. If getting a mirror and doing your workouts in front of that thing is what's going to help you build that habit and stick with it for a long time, then go do it. But I know there's a lot of people out there who aren't motivated by that, and aren't motivated by technology, and would rather just have something like a barbell and plates that's going to last for a long, long time, and you get to use them for a long, long time. To me personally, the mirror is just like it's just a more expensive, fancier version of those old workout tapes and DVDs and stuff that have been around for ages, and like, you find those things at Goodwill now. You know what I mean? People get rid of them, and you can buy them for 50 cents a piece now. You know what I mean? And to me, I think you'll wind up seeing this kind of stuff showing up, in recycling bins, and people just getting rid of them, because they don't use them and things like that. And so, yeah, I don't think that we have anything to worry about with that. We're already a digital company, so the digital side is already covered, and we do a really, really good we do a lot of work of trying to build our community, which is what Peloton does, and what Mirror does, and these other companies trying to have that digital community where people are interacting with each other. So we're already on top of that as well. So I just think, I don't think we have anything to worry about. I think we're going to be around for a long, long time. And this stuff is more of a fad than the stuff that we do.
Yeah. And so my actual just business side of this, my thoughts as an entrepreneur is I think not pursuing fitness tech is not going to lead to the end of Garage Gym Athlete. But I do think it prevents us from some sort of widespread adoption, like nationwide. So I think by not pursuing it, we're not this like massive ass company, but by staying the way we are, there will always be a market, even if it's a small one for those who want to put in the work and do things the right way. There's always going to be a market for that. So I'm not actually worried about that. Just in case anybody's wondering or frightened that we actually would go under. Like, I don't think that that's ever going to be the case. And that's just kind of how I feel about business in general with smaller businesses like ours and things of that nature is when you talk about business competition, when you're in a niche, like I don't really think that there is competitions. There's probably at least a dozen other people who try and serve garage gym athletes. And I just don't think that they do it as well. But we're like a very specific flavor of ice cream that some people just aren't into, right? So there's some people who are never going to be into that thing. And that's 100% okay with me. Competition in business really only exists when you're this massive organization like Amazon versus Walmart. They're so big and they need so much cash. And when they make moves, like nations make changes and stuff, like those kind of businesses can fight. These Goliaths can fight and one can overtake the other. Like that's very possible just because of their size, but we're small. We can pivot. We can do new things. We could get into technology if we wanted to. It's not a hard thing. Like, okay, let's start pursuing this. But the real reason I personally don't want to pursue tech, I don't want to pursue software. It's the same reason we use Team Builder as opposed to build our own app. We could absolutely go hire an app developer and have our own app. But then you know what I become? I become the CEO of a software company, which I have no interest in being the CEO of a software company, getting better at software, going through development cycles and working with engineers. And I'm not interested in any of that crap. I'm interested in working with coaches. I'm interested in working with people. I'm interested in programming. And same here. Like, I don't want to become a tech company, even if that's the better move for making the company bigger, because I don't want to know the interworkings of, a motherboard and wiring and like all this crap. And it's just not interesting to me. I don't think that it actually helps people that much. And in the bigger picture here of what I feel like we're doing, I just read a study last week about the ketogenic diet. And it was very interesting because they ended up finding that there were 5 different subtypes of people and how the body responds to the ketogenic diet. And I mean, it was based off of different genotypes and genetic predispositions and all this other stuff. And what they found were like some people went on the keto diet, they lost weight, they had healthy levels of all forms of cholesterol, and it was just great. And then I think that was 2 out of the 5. The other 3 had some sort of problem with the ketogenic diet. These other genotypes with genetic predispositions. Either their bad cholesterol shot up like way too high, or they wouldn't lose weight, or there was some other problem. And this is what we're starting to find about nutrition and fitness. I think we're finding out a lot more about nutrition right now. And we've talked about this, how it's becoming so individualized, what you need for nutrition. And I think that's coming. I think it's going to be more and more over the next 1 to 2 decades. It's going to be very clear with like blood testing and everything else, what you can and can't do. And this is why I don't like Me Too coaches or I Did It coaches, which are, no offense, coaches who had some success personally and then they go coach other people. Hey, and I'm not talking crap about anybody who's done that. That is fine. Like that has to be the spark for a lot of people to go help other people, but you can't stay there. You have to start learning what the science says. You have to start helping more than yourself. You can't be like, I went on the ketogenic diet. I lost 200 pounds. Every single one of my clients who comes in, they go on the ketogenic diet. They're going to lose 200 pounds because what happens, you'll find very fast, like, why is what I did, why did it work for me, but it won't work for somebody else? and then you start to actually have to challenge yourself as a coach and find these things out. We're learning that in nutrition. We're also learning that in fitness. I think we're at the forefront of that. I don't think anyone really cares because the world is having a hard enough time getting people to move their asses, right? People aren't as concerned about like what's the optimal human programming for energy systems and strength like I am. Like most people are just like, how do we get these lazy fat people to move more? Sorry if that's offensive, but like that is we're like 60% obese as a worldwide population. And so we're just throwing the kitchen sink at it. And hey, if we can monetize it, sure, let's do it. So if you want to put a screen on a bike and do a bike class and that gets more people to move, awesome. If you want to put a mirror on your wall and that gets you to lift weight, awesome. I'm all about it. I'm all for these things. If it helps you move more, then I'm all about it, because we're in a pretty sad state of affairs, not only as a nation, but as a world. And it's only going to get worse. Like this problem is not getting better. It's only going to get worse. And I think that, not to go too far on a tangent here, but that will be the next collapse of the economy, or economic collapse. Is going to have to do with healthcare and too many sick people and everything else. That's just my personal opinion. So anyway, I'm all for these things. Go Peloton, go Mirror. That's great. But you haven't done anything. Like Joe said, like you're purchasing something, you might be excited. How long is it going to last? And I think the people who are here at Garage Gym Athlete understand the whole daily over decades mentality, and like just getting in the work, doing the right thing. Even some people who follow the programming probably don't care about how much effort I put into researching and looking at these things for the community. But I want people who sign up for Garage Gym Athlete to look at it in a sense that I now work for you. Like, honestly, I now work for you. You've hired me, even though it's a small monetary monthly fee as an individual. Collectively, the community has hired me to do all of these things, to continually get better at programming, to continually be reading these research articles, and to be at the forefront of this stuff for you, so you can go about your life, be a better professional. You can be a better father. You be a better mother. You go do the things that you want. And don't worry, I got this fitness and nutrition stuff handled for you. I'll put in way more hours of research and study than you ever will have the time for, because it's my profession. So you've hired me to do those things for you. And that's how I want the Garage Gym Athlete community to feel. We're here for that reason. And if things like that excite you and you're like, oh yeah, that's awesome. That's a sense of relief that I have a team doing that for me. All I have to do is listen to the podcast, follow the programming. Then that's great. Those are the people we want in the community, not the person who's trying to buy the new fitness tech every 6 weeks and hoping that it inspires them enough to keep going. My vision for Garage Gym Athlete is that I want to help people the right way and at a deep level. That could mean that we're not for the masses, and I don't really care about that. I'd rather help a handful of people with radical life change than millions of people who tried us for 2 or 3 months. Like, I honestly would rather help a lot of people at a smaller amount of people at a very deep level than just like have 10 million people sign up for a trial and then never, finish the 2 weeks or not even log in. Like that's mission failed for us. So a bit of a soapbox for me there. I had a lot to say about it, obviously, from business standpoint to how I actually feel about all these things. But I don't think we're going anywhere. I think we're too niche. I don't think it'll crush us in any capacity, but definitely maybe something we could look into. Maybe there's a way to integrate with Mirror. Maybe we can get Joe to record some videos and become one of the Mirror coaches for Garage Gym Athlete, the brand.
I'll look into that myself. I'll look into it for Joe.
And then Trampus, you're killing it on the bike. Maybe you can become a Peloton instructor, wear some Garage Gym Athlete shirts while you're at it.
There you go.
Who knows? There's a lot of opportunities. All right, everybody, don't forget to clip out. All right.
So whenever you get your Peloton, after not working out for a while, be sure to do 10 sets of 60-second as fast as possible intervals as you can. For your first workout, be sure to kill yourself in 60 seconds. 10 times.
That's Tramp's first workout he submits to Peloton.
Well, and that's what I tell these things to Emily all the time, because she feels badly sometimes, like if she's doing something in the fitness world that's not Garage Gym Athlete, because she'll go in these cycles of like doing it, and then she'll find like another program that she wants to do. And my answer to her is always, I do not care what you do. If you're doing something, I'm happy. Bottom line. If she wants me to buy a Peloton, I don't have a leg to stand on for it being too expensive with the 20 grand worth of equipment I have in my garage. I would have to buy a Peloton and we'd have that thing, and I wouldn't care that, I created a garage gym athlete. I wouldn't care. Like, you want a Peloton, get a Peloton. You want a mirror, get a mirror. I can't say it's too expensive or like, no. Like, so I'm okay with the people doing those things, even my own family, because I'd rather everyone be doing something than doing nothing. But then I'll
100%.
always come back to that. Like, do you think you're going to be doing that for the next 10 years? Honestly, because if all I had in my garage was a Peloton, I would be entertained for probably 8 weeks, and then I'd be bored as hell because I wouldn't know what to. I'm like, really, just another class? Like, stand up, sit down, one leg, other leg. Like, it's just, I get
Like
so
with one
bored.
leg?
They do that. They clip out one leg, then they cycle with one leg, and they do the other. Like, I've been in a cycling class before. Yeah.
That's who's
There's
running
lateral
these
work
research
right there.
studies, man.
Yeah.
These single
Well, and then
leg
they'll do, like-
press.
And it's just funny. They'll try to throw in strength training. So they'll be like, stand up. And they're like, okay, now like do like a weird push up.
Yeah,
And
on the
it's like-
handlebars. I've seen that.
Yeah, on the handlebars. Like, yeah, really strengthen that upper body. Okay, now I'm going down to. I was there. I was in a good place. Now I'm going in bad.
Into a
place.
bad
I mean, I will
So-
say
Place.
your new addition in the office looks like a place they would shoot a Peloton commercial. So it's aesthetically it just belongs in that room.
this is actually where it would go. You're right.
Yeah.
And that would. I would not be allowed. Emily
You'd
can
have
get
to-
one, but I don't have to stare at it every day.
You
All
have to
right.
stare.
to work.
Yeah,
You
maybe
have to
that's
work in
motivation.
front of the Peloton.
Maybe
It
that's
just sits there
motivation.
mocking you.
They're in a Peloton. What do you do?
Yeah.
Start
How do
hanging
I-
your clothes on it.
How do I beat you,
Yeah,
Peloton? And that's
dude.
just what I ask myself every day.
I also
Speaking of
just
workouts.
well, hold on. I just perused their website. Our merch is way better than Peloton merch too.
Wow.
Yes,
Heyo.
go to merch.garagemathlete.com.
drop.
I'm glad that we have Trampus here to remind us of that. Merch.garagemathlete.com. How about that abdominal snowman t-shirt? I mean,
That thing is sick.
yeah.
I've sold a
Man, he's
handful.
sick.
I sold a
Yeah,
handful, and it officially dropped yesterday as of this recording. So,
Yeah.
it's
It's sick. You should go get it.
feel good
I
about that.
mean, not only the snowman's badass with a 6-pack. My favorite thing about the snowman is the pipe.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
I just like picture some like drill sergeant or drill
Yeah.
instructor like doing push-ups with the recruit with a cigarette still in his mouth,
Yeah.
like just being a badass.
Oh yeah.
But then the like new garage gym athlete like concurrent training logo in the words is like
Mm.
you just knocked it out of the park, Trampus.
It just-
really
it-
did.
Well done, buddy.
Yeah. Appreciate it. I'm pretty happy.
The
with it.
hardest choice is, do you buy a black one or a red one? Because they both look awesome.
You don't have to
if
limit
they're on
yourself,
Christmas,
Kyle.
It's red.
Just buy both.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
get
Yeah. Buy one of
Also-
each size.
Also, I was today years old when I noticed the garage gym athlete symbol in the O.
Wow.
I didn't-
Oh,
I didn't
wow.
Well, the
notice it.
first one I showed y'all didn't have it in there.
So that's
So
why.
the second one, I thought of it in between the second.
Yeah,
Snuck it
I'll
in
go with
there.
that. I'll go with that excuse.
And we are running a special for all of December on those. It's buy one, get one full price. So you can buy the red and black,
love
if
that.
you want.
Yeah,
That's the deal of the century right there. Forget.
Yeah.
Forget
Well, it's
better
only
Given
only
Friday.
going on for December. So you better snag a red and a black while you can. Wait, I mean, you save on shipping, right? At least there's something. There's
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
to-
you
to-
save
There you go.
shipping.
There you go.
$6.
$5 flat rate. Yeah.
All right. Workout.
Workout.
What's the workout for today? or
It
for
is
the
the
week.
5K, and I think it's Trampus's turn.
Yeah. Trampus,
Oh,
you
no.
get to brief this one, bud.
And we just let him know.
Yeah.
You should
No,
have the
it's on-
other
no,
5K
it's in the notes.
I
Scroll
memorized.
down.
definitely
Kyle was
should
nice
have it
enough.
memorized.
Did
but,
you pass the
yeah.
onboarding exam? Oh, we forgot
Yeah,
to give it
right.
to Trampus.
Missed this question. Now we have
Just
to make
so I
an
don't mess
exam.
it up. Let's see.
But Kyle, talk about something else while we wait.
Yeah, this is sad.
Mm,
Can we talk
honestly,
about how Kyle's not
I'm-
using his squat rack anymore?
All right,
yeah.
All right, Trampus has got it.
I
That's
got
all
it.
that needed to be said.
Trampus is like, oh, Kyle's going to talk. Nope. Can't let that happen.
6 rounds of 800-meter run with 3 rounds of 5 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, and 15 squats after each 800-meter run. Then you rest 3 minutes, have a 100-meter sprint, rest 1 minute, 100-meter sprint, and there's a 60-minute time cap.
There you go. Look at that. You briefed it, so your tips go first.
My tips go first.
It was a weird way
Um,
to say that. I'm sorry.
Tips, well, this is one of my
Tip
favorite.
10.
Meet Yourself Saturdays is probably the one I've done the most of the Meet Yourself Saturdays, and it's simple. You don't need any equipment. It's one thing I like about it. And I generally rest during the runs, take it off, and then try to hit the calisthenics pretty hard. But don't forget the sprints, because it is part of the workout, and a lot of people don't do them for some reason.
So when you say rest during the runs, like you're not running when you're supposed to run, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I just
it's an 800 meter rest.
I just guesstimate what my 800 meters would be, and then I start doing. No, I just don't. Yeah, it's a jog, so it's not a. I don't go all out on the 800s generally when I do this, but probably not in the Meet Yourself mindset. But it's still a tough workout, just getting it all complete for me, especially in the time cap. So, Joe,
I always say that the 800 meter run should be a max repeatable pace. So that first run, you might not go all out, but just know that you have 6 of those. So once you get to the 4 and the 5, that repeatable pace is pretty freaking hard. So just remember that. And the rest time does count toward your total time. Kyle.
Yeah. So minimum score of 4 minutes, right? Because there's 4 minutes of rest built in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would go with Joe on this one. Actually, to me, your score comes from your run speed. Because to me, at least as many times as I've done this workout, I can only do calisthenics so fast. And so, yeah, you get fatigued as it goes, so maybe you get slower on that. But to me, your score really comes from how fast you can repeat an 800 meter run, kind of like what Joe said, or exactly what Joe said. So I would say exactly what he said. Pick a good solid 800 meter pace that you can sustain, but not just sustaining for 6 rounds, but sustaining after having all the calisthenics that are also going to be fatiguing you. So make sure that you're accounting for all of that as you go. And again, make sure that you're accounting for the sprints at the end, because that's also involved in the running, making up your score. How fast can you sprint? And having that rest time in there too. I would say music wise, kind of like last week's, just something that you can get in a rhythm and stay in a rhythm. Cause that's, to me, that's the trick to improving on this workout or having a good time on this workout is, can you put your head down and go through the work and not let up? And so get a good sustainable pace and keep everything even and keep a good steady pace through the whole thing. And are you able to do that? So if you're going to listen to something while you're doing this, then listen to something that's going to help you stay in a rhythm.
All righty. The O3 5K. I don't know why, but I still haven't introduced the Garage Gym Athlete 5K.
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
I forgot
we did that.
It's been pretty awful.
I forgot we did that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a tangent, but we'll come back to it.
We're not going to do it today.
No, we just came out with a new one this month.
There's a couple new ideas floating around. We'll see what happens in 2022 here. But yeah, for this one, we have briefed this one a lot because it comes up. We test it during every fit week. And so we've said it all. I do think sustainable and repeatable, to Joe's point on the 800 meters, is good. You can sandbag the 800s for rest. That's only if the calisthenics are really fatiguing. And so Kyle said you can only do calisthenics so fast, right? And I want to hit on that point more for my tip is make sure that those are as fast as you can do them. You want to get to a point where there is no rest. And so pay attention to your transitions. You don't really need that rest between transitions unless you actually need it. And I would really like for you to do some soul searching on the definition of the word need. If you need or want the rest, they're very different things. And so the squats, just like I say on Murph workout, squats is where a lot of people will lose time on the calisthenics, because you watch people do squats, air squats, and it's hilarious. There's like a 2-second pause at the top. They just kind of slow down, and then 3-second pause at the top. do your squats fast. So keep the calisthenics fast, and then sustainable and repeatable on the 800. But I will say one caveat to Joe's sustainable and repeatable for 5 rounds. On your last 800 meter, I want you to full send as fast as you can go for an 800 meter. So I always have those caveat in there. Your fastest 800 meter pace, not your 100 meter pace, trying to be sustained for 800 meters. That's stupidity and not possible. So your fastest, maybe shoot for like, I don't know, your mile pace. Maybe that would be a realistic thing as opposed to even the full, because you're already going to be fatigued. So whatever your mile pace, if you run a 6-minute mile, so 3 minutes on the 800, shoot for a pace like that. Okay, 1.5-minute lap. That's still really fast. It's moving, but it's a pace for double the distance, so it's still doable. So just keep that in mind. Full send on that last one, even though you're rolling into some more work after that. You can shave off like a full minute there if your sustainable and repeatable pace was, quite a bit slower. So keep that in mind. But that's all I got for the EO3 5K.
One last
Anything else?
little thing. Yeah. And I'm surprised this hasn't really been said that much before, but because this is done every single fit week, this is a fantastic way to test your endurance. So if you still plan on being around and doing this, then try and do this each fit week if you really care about the endurance, because the next longest piece of endurance we have during fit week is probably the 2K row. And that's, 7, 8, 9 minutes, but this is going to be, 40 plus minutes. So if that's kind of a zone, especially, endurance pick kind of people that you want to work at and compare off of, then I would encourage you to do this and make sure you're kind of staying consistent for how you're doing it.
And it's mixed modal aerobic, which is probably the greatest form of human performance, in my opinion. So your ability to move for long periods while doing different modalities is possibly more important than any other form of fitness. Strength being a close second in there. So anyway, hit it up. I think that's all I got. So we will get out of here. Don't forget to vote for who has the best Christmas setup. Again, if you're listening, remember how awesome mine was versus everyone else's, and just let us know in the Facebook group. If you're watching on YouTube, you know the truth, real truth, and the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So you can vote on who did the best. We really want to hear. Let us know who won. Give us a vote, and that person will win a prize of my choosing after we know the winner. Yeah,
we win a Peloton.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be really funny if I actually won and I said that. That would be hilarious, because I think I have a chance. You guys think I don't, but I don't know. Look at it. Look at that right there. You have any of those? Anybody have?
It's simple and easy.
Yeah.
It was really easy.
Simple, not easy, Kyle. You messed that one up. All right. It's simple, not easy. This was a lot of work.
I said
I had to bring a new table and a Christmas tree out to my office while holding a coffee cup today. That was a lot of.
You had to walk out in the woods and chop that thing down, Kyle. Don't forget.
Yeah. Oh goodness. All right.
And spray paint it white. All right. For all of our athletes following and who don't care so much about Peloton and the mirror, we appreciate you. You're keeping us going. You're putting in the hard work daily over decades, getting the green dots. We know what you're doing, and you know what you're doing is worth it. And it's very important, the work you are putting in to become a better version of yourself, to be a better, person for your family, healthier for your family, possibly live longer. I wish there was a way for us to truly know that. Like, hey, every time you do a training session, it adds, 6 minutes to your life. That'd be awesome. But we don't have that kind of data yet. Maybe one day. But doesn't change the fact that those things are true. So all of those doing that, putting in the work, it's awesome for you. It's awesome for us. So we really do appreciate you being a part of the community. For anybody who's more Peloton, camp, or whatever, it's okay. Keep doing that. But when you get bored, you're bored out of your mind. You can't stand. If I have one more hyped up on crack cocaine cycling instructor telling me what to do, I'm gonna cry. When you get to that point, it's okay. Garage Gym Athlete starts with a 14-day free trial, $25 a month after that. And we're in it for the long haul. We'll take care of you in every capacity. So sign up for that trial, become a member of Garage Gym Athlete, And for my weekly reminder, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. Gym Athlete Podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.